Okay, so I figured I should go in a little more detail about this vibration issue that I was telling you guys about. Got a few recommendations on what to change, but I left out a few details of the problem. So I'm just going to start from the start here. When I bought the car, went for a test drive, noticed there was a vibration in it. Since then, pulled the transmission out, rebuilt it, had bad synchros, so replaced those. Got a new clutch, resurfaced the flywheel, went for a test drive, still vibrated. And then at that point I noticed the harmonic balancer was bad, so replaced it, got a little bit better. Took the whole accessory drive off, and vibration is still there. Now at that point I checked if it was the drive shaft, seeing if it would do it while I'm just in neutral, and it does. So you can count the drive shaft out. So the last thing I got thinking about here is it's got to be the flywheel. It's got to be out of balance. I resurfaced it, but that doesn't mean it's balanced. So today, unfortunately, I'm going to pull the transmission out again so I can take the flywheel over to the machine shop and get them to check it out for balance. Okay, so we're under the car. First thing you got to take off is the drive shaft. There's 4 bolts, 12 mil, 12 point. I'm going to try not taking these big mufflers off. I think if I take the H-pipe off, we'll be able to remove the transmission. It's right up there. Alright guys, a little more room under here now. Got the H-pipe off. So I'm going to go in the car and remove the shifter before we can drop the transmission. Okay, so to remove the shifter, pull this bezel out. Just a few clips. Remove this shifter boot. Might be easier if you remove the knob actually. Okay, you got the knob off. Remove the shifter boot. So you gotta disconnect your shifter at these 2 bolts here so that it just slides all the way down. Okay, so with that shifter removed, we'll need to do a few more things out of the car before we pull the transmission out. That is remove the speedo gear and disconnect the wiring associated with that, and the reverse light, and this other wiring, and then take the 4 bolts to the bell housing off, and the transmission should come right off. Then all we gotta do is remove the bell housing, the clutch, and the starter. We get the flywheel. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Just gonna take the bell housing off now. Get the shift cable and the starter that's on this side, and we're all done. Bell housing's off. Just got to remove the clutch now, and we can take the flywheel off. Only a few bolts away. Okay, so here it is. One thing to note is the dowels for the clutch. Where are they? That there and that one up there. All 3 of them are in there, so that was not causing the imbalance. The clutch was located properly. Clutch was tight. All the bolts were tight. So I'm going to just check the torque on the flywheel bolts here when I pull it off, and then bring it over to the machine shop. Okay, all the bolts were tight, and before someone says I put it on wrong, these are indexed, so you can only bolt the flywheel on one way onto the crankshaft, so that was not the problem. Now it looks like it's got some balancing holes in it, so I don't know. I'm gonna bring this over to the machine shop. Made in China, so maybe it's not the OEM flywheel. I'll bring it over there and see what they say. Maybe I'll just have to buy a new flywheel. Okay, so I just went to the machine shop, and the guy there actually had a great idea. I'm going to take my balancer off the front, and that way he's going to balance the harmonic balancer and the flywheel at the same time, make sure they're both the same. So, taking the harmonic balancer off now. Alright guys, just got back from the machine shop. I got some bad news. They said the flywheel and the damper are balanced to 50 ounce. So that means one of 2 things. Either the crank is bent in the engine, which would be bad, or what I'm hoping is this input shaft on the transmission is bent, and even if I put it in the clutch in, it's still spinning a little bit. There's a little bit of drag on that. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to bolt that flywheel back up, put the bell housing back on, and then I just won't put the clutch in. So that way I can start the engine. It'll have the transmission in and everything. Just like when it was vibrating, and then I'll be able to isolate the engine from the transmission. And at that point it'll tell me if it's either crankshaft or the transmission. So stay tuned. Okay, first thing to go on is this damper. Alright guys, I just had a great idea. Since I really don't know anything about this engine, I decided I'd check the casting number on the block to see what year it is, because you know they have 28-ounce balance, 302s, I think in the 70s or something. Anyway, so the casting number I found right behind the starter here. You can see there, right in the middle, E7TE. So I looked that up. That means it's a 1987 truck engine with a roller cam in it. So should be fine. It's still 50-ounce balance. So let's continue on with the work. Okay, so if you remember an MG Motorsports tech tip, it's always to torque your bolts. So one of the tips, use your flywheel bolts, or sorry, your clutch bolts, 2 of them, jam a screwdriver in there, hold it down while you torque your flywheel, or else it'll turn your engine over while you're trying to torque them, because these are being torqued to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, don't make the same mistake I did. I forgot this cover here for the back behind the flywheel, so flywheel's got to come back off, and got to put that behind it and re-torque it down. So I'll be right back. Okay, so while I had this off, I figured I'd take this opportunity and show you that you can only bolt this flywheel on one way. So you can see right now, there's 2 bolt holes, that one and that one up there, that do not line up in this orientation. So you just gotta turn the flywheel one more position and then you'll be good to go. Okay, here it is. Bell housing's on, no clutch in there. Now all I gotta do, take that transmission, lift it up on my chest, stick it in the pilot bearing, through the tunnel, and support it with the jack while I get the transmission mount cross member on. So it's in. Remember when I said it was going to be easier? Well, it wasn't. To get the pilot bearing to line up with the input shaft, when you have no clutch to kind of align it, it's very difficult. Anyway, got it. Transmission leaked all over me, so sacrificed the shirt. But I thought I had drained it all, but I only got like a quart out of it, so I knew something was wrong there. Anyway, I'm gonna put the cross member in, and then we'll start it up and see if it's still vibration. Okay, there it is. It's all buttoned up. Got the transmission in, all tightened up. Got the starter. I pity whoever has to put that starter on the side of the road, because that thing's a bitch. Anyway, everything's tight. Let's start her up and see if the vibration is still there. Okay, here we go. Alright, for some reason the video cut out, but spun it up, 3,500 RPM, and still vibrates. So I had one more idea, and that is that if I get lucky enough and there's a casting number on the crankshaft that tells me the balance of it, maybe I can get a boroscope, go through the drain plug, or drop the oil pan, check out that part number, and it'll either tell me if it's a 50 or a 28-ounce balance. And if it's a 50-ounce balance, I guess at that point we're going to be replacing the short block, because maybe it's a piston, or maybe it's a rod that's unbalanced, or maybe a piston's broken or something. I don't know. But yeah, stay tuned. If you guys got any ideas, just let me know, please.